Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero. Our guest today is Josue Barron, and we're airing this show on October 21st, 2019. Josue was born and raised in Los Angeles, one of 6 kids raised by a single mother, which is often a recipe for trouble. Boys crave discipline, male role models, and examples of leadership. They also usually need to find a way to provide and protect, and that makes it easy to turn to gangs and crime to survive. But Josue is wired a little differently. In 2007, he chose to join the Marine Corps at age 17, and he changed his life forever. He served in Japan, Korea, Thailand, and the Philippines, and Australia before being deployed to Afghanistan in 2010. Exactly 9 years ago today, on October 21st, 2010, Josue was on a morning foot patrol. On the way back to the base, his engineer stepped on an IED, and the blast hit them both and injured them severely. They were both left with amputations. Josue lost his left leg and his left eye. He received the Purple Heart and Combat Action Ribbon. Through his recovery, he drew strength from his wife and his mother, who never stopped challenging him to be stronger. He was also inspired by and inspiring to other Marines and veterans who had been disabled and continue to lead great lives. Now I want to take a second to invite you to support our favorite cause, which is Save the Brave. You can read about them at savethebrave.org. They're a certified 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to helping veterans cope with post-traumatic stress. You can read about them at the website. You can donate a few bucks you're not using. Pete and I both support Save the Brave with our time and our recurring contributions right out of our PayPal accounts. And Scott Huesing supports them too, and he serves on their board. They do great work, and we urge you to support them as well. Josue is working with another organization that deserves our support. It's the Gary Sinise Foundation. And they're working together to design and build an adaptive smart home to make living with his physical challenges a bit more manageable. His current house has a bathroom and a kitchen that don't accommodate his wheelchair, and stairs to climb to reach the second story. The house they're working on now will give Josue much more independence. We'll have a link in the show notes to Josue's page on the Gary Sinise Foundation website. We'd also like you to support the Break It Down Show on whatever platform you're listening to us, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube. You can help us out with a 5-star rating and a positive review. It helps listeners find us, and we really appreciate you doing it, and we appreciate you listening and subscribing. And you can rate us and review us while you're listening, unless you're driving or operating heavy machinery, in which case you should keep up the good work and stay safe. This episode was recorded at Huesing Ranch and co-hosted by Scott Huesing, and as always, Scott and Pete go deep with our special guest today, a guy who knows a little something about digging deep. Here's Josue Barron.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay
This
Moore.
is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Marotta.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
This is Josue Barron, and you're listening to the Break It Down Show.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Yes. So smooth, so easy. You're such a gold sunglasses wearing chilled guy. I'm excited to learn more about you because it's the first time we've ever met. We're here at Rancho de Huesing, hosting as always, looking good in his, I wish it was a stylish burgundy jacket that said Break It Down Show on it.
It's happening.
I'm working on it.
And still in studio is the famous Chris Van Etten sitting in.
Yeah.
We're all homies here in beautiful
Handsome
Temecula.
soap model, underwear model.
Sexy thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this is cool. So I guess give us some background so we can understand who you are and why you're here, because this is about to get crazy because your story is incredible.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I grew up in Los Angeles, California, in a small town called Cudahy, and it's one of the smallest cities in LA, but it's 100% Hispanics. It's right next to Watts, Compton, South Central, East LA. So it's a pretty bad neighborhood, bunch of gangs, a lot of single moms out there, you know, raising a bunch of kids. So that's one thing that connected me and a lot of my friends, that most of us didn't have a dad growing up. So it was one thing that we found with each other was, man, you know, we can relate. We know we're missing something at home, but we can find it out here in the streets. So at 14, me and my homeboys from the neighborhood, we start our first crew. So a crew is a step below a gang, but you're still doing the same thing as the gang, but you're not an official like gang yet. So it's a bunch of us hanging out, just tagging, trying to create a name for ourselves. And at the same time, now we're carrying guns. We're getting deeper and deeper into this crew that now we're fighting a war in LA with the big gangs.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from the Break It Down Show, checking in real quick to ask you this. John, Scott, and I all support Save the Brave with our time, our location, our effort, and our money. Each month we give a small amount. Do the same with us. Go to SaveTheBrave.org, click on the Donate tab, pick an amount that you want to come out each month, and they will handle all the rest. I stand behind these folks. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the show.
We're getting deeper and deeper into this crew that now we're fighting a war in LA with the big gangs.
How old are you?
So I'm 14, 15. At the same time, I have so much respect for my mom that my mom has no idea what I'm doing in the streets because I had a curfew, so I'm over here doing my thing, doing some crazy shit, and I had to be home by 12 because that's how much respect I have for my mom,
You're out gangbanging, tagging shit, and you're like, hey, mom needs me home by curfew.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, this shootout better be at 11:30 because I got to be home by 12. That was the life that I was living for a while, but at the same time, I always had respect for my mom, and she was raising 6 with me. We're 7, so 6 brothers and sisters. So I knew how hard she worked. I knew everything she sacrificed. My mom came from Mexico when she was 15. So when she got here, she didn't teach us a lot about this country. So there was a lot of things that I had learned out in the streets on my own. And being in this little city called Cudahy in LA, I really never got to understand what it was to be a patriotic, American or anything like that. So I lived in LA. That's all I knew. I knew my buddies were Hispanics, and that's all I had. Just Hispanic buddies, no white friends, no black friends, nothing. And at the same time, we were fighting against other Hispanic gangs. So it was kind of like we're killing each other at the same time. And I reached the point in my life at 17 where I got to the point where I was seeing my older friends, and I was like, man, like, this is not attractive no more. Like these guys are getting killed or they're going to jail for years. And at the same time, I saw how their families were based on what these guys were doing. So I always had a conscience in my mind, and I knew that there was something wrong about this lifestyle. And I knew that there was more to this. And that's when one of my buddies told me about the Army. Because once again, we didn't know there was a Marine Corps. And my buddy tells me about the Army. We get the Army recruiter come to my house. He shows up and he sees 5 gang members sitting, in the living room. And we're ready to take the practice ASVAB. And all of us scored less than 28 on the ASVAB score. It was like really low. And this guy's like, I'll give you guys a call. He left. We never heard from him again. And then my friend, after that, that same buddy told me about the Marine Corps, because I guess he had seen an ad on MySpace during that time. It was the Marine Corps. And there was one in Downey, which is a couple of cities next to Cudahy. And we met one guy there who took us serious. He was an infantry guy. And he saw something in us that I guess we didn't know we had. And then from there, he took us serious. And we had a set date already to go. Well, we didn't have a set date, but we knew that it was going to come that year for us to leave to boot camp. And one day, me and 4 of my friends, that same guy too that told me about the military, we walked to McDonald's, which is 2 blocks away from my house. And we're walking, and this green Honda Civic, a 94, I remember everything like it was yesterday. A 94 green Honda Civic pulls up next to us while we're coming back from McDonald's, and shoots at us 8 times. And then they shoot my homeboy twice. And those bullets could have hit anybody, but somehow 2 bullets hit him. And from there, kind of like his military career was over. From there, an opportunity came for me to leave like a month later. And I was like, I'm ready, get me out of here.
Did he die?
He didn't die. He didn't die, but, it went through his fingers and through the knee. But it was one of those things where like he had to do his own physical therapy, and it was just, they weren't gonna take them anymore. Maybe because of the physical, something like that.
We've had a lot of guys who have had this kind of lifestyle on the show.
Yeah.
And there's a common theme. One is that there's a lot of hopelessness or isolation like you had, like not even knowing there was a Marine Corps, you know. Shaka Senghor said jail was an extension of the community.
Yeah.
Which is horrifying. He talked about getting off of the X without knowing that was a combat thing. He's like, wait, that's a combat thing? And I'm like, that's a combat thing. He said that most everybody he knew, male-wise, that was older than him was either dead, shot, in jail, potentially all of the above. Is that in any way different than your experience?
It's not, but for me, like at the end of the day, I can only talk about like my experience. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because there's a lot of times where like I got injured and you know, obviously that life, I reached a certain point where that life is behind me, but I never in my life, you know, wanted to respect anybody who's still in my neighborhood.
Sure.
You know, who's still living that life and who hasn't experienced what my life has, you know, taken me to.
Well, we don't want to disrespect anybody because people choose their life and everything. But it's important to illustrate like what the reality is. There is that.
Oh yeah. I mean,
this is what that community is like.
No, that's the reality, and they accept that. You know, they know it. You know, and I always tell people there's a certain age. You know, obviously from 14, 13, you know, to high school, where you're still a kid, and it's like you can get away with some things like saying, "Oh, I don't understand this lifestyle." But once you reach a certain age and you're still there, you've already experienced everything. And you know that in some way, this is not the right thing to do, you know? So a lot of guys understand that and they're like, hey, this is my life. I already have a record. You know, I can't get a good job. This is it for me, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, throughout all the gangbang and all that, you doing drugs, you drinking.
You know, that was one thing that I was smart about, you know? A lot of my friends were doing drugs, but I was always that guy who wanted to lead the group. And to lead the group, I always felt like I had to be sober and I had to be off drugs because I didn't want to be this guy who was smoking weed and feeling drowsy or sleepy. I'm like, nah, I got to be on my toes and I got to make sure we're okay. So I was always that guy who wanted to drive people somewhere. I was always that guy who was like, let me be a leader. So
where was your dad during all this? And
my dad,
family,
you know,
brothers, sisters?
My older brother's probably like 6 years older than me. And he left with my dad when he was like 13 to go work. So he was already working construction and they were working in different states. So while and then my brother, not my dad, would send us money. I mean, like my brother was sending us his money to help out the family. So that, you know, at a young age, I understood that my dad was something else, you know, that this guy didn't take it serious.
I asked that as a leading question because you say you don't do drugs. You're embroiled in this criminal lifestyle, this gang lifestyle. By age 17, you've been shot at and probably shot at more people than most Marines do in their entire career, sometimes spanning 20 years. And yet there's something in you, in Josue Barron, that wants to lead and wants to take care of his own crew, which I think, again, puts you in that category as a protector, even in this totally separate sect of criminals, which the public would consider you criminals. You were doing criminal activity. I mean, let's make no mistake about it. But even in that culture, you were a leader and you were taking care of your own. And through all of that, I mean, there was a turning point where you said, I have to break away from this, and you join the Marine Corps, which is our whole business as soldiers and Marines, is to take care of others who can't take care of themselves. You've already learned that by age 17, and now you're introduced to the Marine Corps. What was that transition?
I mean, I feel like I'm the kind of guy who in the streets, you learn how to be loyal. And then having my mom, you know, teaching me a lot of these things, how to be humble and how to appreciate any little thing that comes our way because we didn't have it. I feel like it's what made me. And I'm that kind of guy too, who if I have a tight circle and these guys are willing to, you know, I've always had a tight circle. And if they're down for me, I'm 100% down for you. But as soon as you make a mistake and I feel like you messed up because you wanted to and for your benefit, then you're done. And that's the street code. You know, that's the way it works in the streets. So then that's what prepared me for what's coming. you know, and I had no idea none of it. Like everything that's happened in my life, I've never imagined. Nothing. There's nothing that I could think right now that I would have in my life. Like kids, a wife, being a Marine, you know, doing everything that I've done. I've never imagined it. And it's made me appreciate everything that I have because I never imagined having it, you know, and just feeling it, it makes me, you know, appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely a lot of perspective. And I want to share this right up front because we actually met at the gym at Fitness 19 here in Temecula.
Did you smash into his car in the parking lot?
I did.
Like some people?
No, I didn't. I'm like, hey, who owns the Ford pickup truck outside with disabled plates on it? No, that wasn't me. That was Chris Van Etten. He took it out.
Congratulations.
I actually read about Josue's story in a book by our mutual friend, RJ Bell. What's the title of the book again? Do you remember? It's
After.
After. Yeah,
it's called After.
It's a remarkable compilation of stories of veterans. And I'm working out. And I'm, you know me, Pete. I mean, everybody knows. Like, I'm a nosy guy. I'm a storyteller. I'm kind of, you know, I always ask questions, and so I pride myself when I see a guy who's a veteran. And he was just wearing like Under Armour. Obviously, he sticks out a little bit because he's got, you know, a Terminator, you know, prosthetic leg on. But he also has a Marine Corps eyeball, which has the Eagle Globe and Anchor on it. So, you know, I just go up to him, introduce myself. I'm like, hey, I'm a Marine too. I like to know who all the Marines are in the gym. Just, you know, if you need anything, you know, there's a ton of Marines in town here. And
we should probably explain what you just said. Because you said Marine Corps eyeball. Like that's, so you got to give some context as to how that's even possible. So real fast.
We were talking about this last night. We had a big 30-person bash over here at the ranch on Sunday, and Josue was over here too. And we were talking. It's cool because he's another guy that is comfortable explaining a lot of the nuances that people don't want to ask those questions. Like, you know, what does a prosthetic eyeball look like and how many? Hey, he's got a bunch of different custom eyeballs. Just to tell people what it's like and how many you got and all that.
I mean, yeah, I've always been that kind of guy who there's nothing that bothers me when people ask me. You know, like I like telling people what happened. You know, I don't mind going back into that world because, like I said, you know, at a young age, I've already, you know, had trauma, you know, and seen stuff like that. But to me, I appreciate when somebody comes up to me and talks to me and says, hey, what's wrong with you? You know, or like, what happened to you? This and that. And especially if it's another Marine, I'm like, you know, and that's when he started talking to me, you know, obviously I don't know if he knew about my eye or if he had seen the logo in there, but on my left eye, I have the Marine Corps logo, and it's part of my injury.
But the prosthetic itself is, I mean, describe it. A lot of people think when they see whatever, like Pirates of the Caribbean, and the guy pops his eyeball and it's this round thing, but it's not. It's
no, it's kind of like a big contact, but a thick contact. So it's kind of like a shell. I still have my eye in the back, but there's no fluid in there, and it's not the eyelid won't open because it's not puffy no more. So it's just flat.
Right.
So that big thick contact is what gives it that
fills that void.
Fills that space.
And so this one had a Marine logo on it.
But it's his favorite. You were telling like my family and friends and Nick and his crew and Heath.
I mean, it's like a haircut. Once you have it for a long time, you're used to it. And if I try to put a different eye and I look at myself in the mirror, it takes a while for me to get used to that eye. Or even like going out in the street and talking to somebody, I can't look at them in the eye with a different eye. Like I'll start looking around and I'm like, you know, I felt different.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where you have to get used to the eyeball and whatever's in there.
Is it a comfort thing or is it an image thing?
It's an image thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely an image thing.
Yeah. Like kind of like, hey, I'm a Marine. Like, you know, if you need any other explanation, like check this out. Like, and most people who are Marines, obviously, like, yep, this guy's a Marine.
And obviously, I didn't have a lot of options. Like, I wasn't gonna put like a big LA, you know, a big LA sign in there. I wasn't gonna put like a gang sign or anything like that. So I just felt like the military eyes were perfect for this because I had seen, when I was at Balboa, when I first got injured, I was reading the Marine Corps Times and I saw Gunny Popovich. He got injured in 2004 in Iraq and he was missing an eye. On the page, it said once a Marine, always a Marine, but it was like half of his face. Like, you know, he had a Marine Corps eye. And that's where I got my idea from.
I want to talk about that. Let's get back to RJ's book. I actually read the story, and it wasn't until we bumped into each other at the gym, and then it clicked to me. It's like, oh my God, like I totally read your stories. There's a whole chapter about him in RJ's book. And from there we just kind of hit it off, and we catch some workouts together, and he crushes my old ass into fine powder, and like I bust his balls because like we're doing leg ups or something. I'm like, yeah, but you only did fucking half, man. So like I got to do twice as many, So it's like, but still crushing me in the gym. And I think because me and Josue talk about this, and Chris is sitting here too, smiling because he gets it. Is you're continuing to inspire people and stay physically fit, use all those tenets of, basic Marine Corps fitness and mind, body, spirit, and whatever you're spiritual about. We can talk about that for days, but you stay physically fit because it is really vital to stay physically fit. And I've admitted this to Josue because his story and what he's gone through is so inspirational to people. And he said things to me at times where, like, yeah, I don't feel I want to do this, or I don't do this. I said, no, man, you need to do that. And I'll tell you personally, there's days I wake up and I'm feeling lethargic, or I feel depressed and I think I'm going to be a puss today and I'm not going to work out. I'm not going to work out in the gym, or I'm not going to work out in the pool. And then I'll see a feed, and maybe it's Chris's, maybe it's yours, maybe it's
Pete Koch.
Maybe
you want to go
Pete,
work out.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But all, just those little seeds that you plant on this stupid thing called social media, which is kind of insignificant in the big scheme of things. Yeah. It helps, man. It really does. Just never know what you're going to throw out there of what you're doing. And people that have been through so much of you guys, people want to kind of know more about your life, and they want to see more into your life because they haven't. They could never imagine, one, joining them, coming out of a gang, surviving that, joining the Marine Corps, doing all of these great things that you've done, and still being so fucking positive and so successful. And I will say this, is that probably one of the things I've stolen, not my criminal career, but recently from Josue, is that something he said to me, and it's his, so I'm quoting him, but we were out at a golf tournament for LA County Sheriff's Department, and again, he just shows up. I'm like, I didn't even know you were going golfing. He's like, yeah. I go, who are you golfing with? He goes, I'm golfing with you, sir. I'm like, all right, roger that. Like, hop in. So we golfed that day, and we're literally driving to the first hole. And we're talking about being involved with Save the Brave, and we love having guys like Josue on the team because he knows all of us. He knows we're in it for the right reasons. They're not selfish reasons. And he said to me, after everything I've been through and all the combat and the injuries and survival and this, he goes, I never want people to call me a hero, just like Chris was saying. I want people to remember me in life for what I did after that. And I thought, I even said to you, I got to write that down. And you go, whatever, sir. I'm like, no, seriously, like it was really fucking profound. And tell everybody why that philosophy is so important to you.
I mean, because, to me, every time I see somebody who goes downhill and who struggle, who's going through the hardest time of their lives, but can make something out of it, to me, that inspires me. Like, it don't matter if you're missing a limb, if you're missing whatever it is, but if you can go through something so tough in your life, but make something amazing after that, you go through it, you figure it out, and then now you start thinking about the future, and if you can make something big, I'm not talking about like just go get a job, go do this. Nah, I'm talking about like if you can inspire people, make a difference in the world. Like, to me, that motivates me.
What's the one thing that if you had a message of inspiration to people listen, I mean, have you crafted that? Do you know what that one singular message is, or are there multiple?
I mean, I think I would just say, like, it don't matter like where you come from, like what kind of, financial status you're in, like there's always something for you, like there's always something out there that you can do that you bring to the table. So it doesn't matter if somebody's doing something over here or over here, you got something special in you that other people don't have, but you got to figure it out, and it's there, but you got to figure it out. And sometimes you're going to go through some challenges, and you're going to, you might not know it's there, but those challenges are what going to bring that special skill that you bring to the table.
You've done a lot of things since your injury, since your time in the Marine Corps, to inspire people, not just the fitness. One of the things you've done is at Camp Pendleton, just here in Southern California, Josue, and you can visit him on social media too. It's Josue Barron 35 on Instagram. But there's pictures of you climbing up First Sergeant's Hill, which is this legendary ass-kicking hill that we climb for PT, and these sadists run their Marine platoons up there. And at the top, there's a memorial for all of our fallen brothers at 1st Marine Division, and it's an ass kicker. But you did it, and tell people last time you did it and how you did it.
I mean, I think it was one of our 3-5 reunions. So we had a 3rd Battalion 5th Marine reunion, and I don't think I had ever been up that hill since I had been injured. So before we deployed, we were running that was our backyard, but there was no crosses up there. There was nothing. So after our deployment, then they started putting the crosses, and then other units started catching on, and everybody just started. They made that place into what it is now. So I think it was like 3 years after we had a reunion, and I was just motivated to go up there. I didn't even think about it. Like, I didn't even think about, if it was gonna hurt or if I could even do it. Like, I just wanted to go up the hill. So as soon as I think just walking from the parking lot to the hill, it's a walk. So I think as soon as I got out the car and I started walking, I was already tired. I was like, man, I'm already tired, and I still had a ways to go to just get to the bottom of that hill. Then I was like, man, what I get myself into? But I was motivated because I wanted to see the crosses, and I wanted to get a feel. I wanted to see what it felt like to be up there. So as soon as I started climbing, a couple steps into it, I'm a real high amputee, so I'm pretty much almost to like my butt cheek. So I can't really do a lot with this leg. I can't even pick it up. So as soon as I'm going up the hill, this is useless to me. It's just like an anchor. It just
He's talking about his left leg.
It's just weight. So I had to take it off. And now I'm like, I didn't even think about, like, it's probably harder if I do it with one leg. But I was just so worried about the leg being too heavy. And I'm just climbing it with one leg. I'm trying to go up the hill. And it's probably the hardest thing I've done in a while. But I had to get up that hill. And
at
somehow,
one point, you're literally low crawling up.
Yeah. Well, most of the time I'm low crawling because I'm just trying to get up that hill. And if I get up, I'm going to fall back because it's a pretty steep hill. And obviously I had a couple good Marines there that pushed me, helped me out, gave me a hand when I needed it. And I eventually made it up there, but I had no idea that everybody else was watching because I thought I'm just focused on what I'm doing. And when I get up there, everybody's already up there and everybody's clapping. Like everybody, and I kind of want to give up towards the end because my knee's hurting and I'm just tired. My arms are just what they want to give up. But I'm like, as soon as I see them clapping, I'm like, I got this second wind, and I was like, hell no, I'm gonna get up there, And I get up there and they're clapping, and it was a pretty special moment for a lot of the guys too, because a lot of those guys that were at the reunion, they're not amputees, but they went through that tough deployment. And I think just for them to see somebody like me overcome that hill, I think it kind of gave them a different perspective.
And for the new Marines that have never been to combat to see that and say, like, man, when it's my turn, the impossible is possible. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
Was one of the Marines that helped you up smart enough, like he brought your leg up with you? He's like,
yes,
didn't leave it like,
because
I can see the Marines doing like, hey, who's got my leg? I thought you had it. No, I got it like that. Yeah, so like,
No, definitely.
Who's got my pack? Oh, we left it in the LZ.
Oh, you shouldn't have left it alone. I think the Sergeant Major has it.
Yeah, definitely. They helped me out. Got my leg up there. I put my leg back on. Took a shot of a tequila they had up there, and it was a good day.
How was it getting back down? Was that just as hard? I mean, because now you're on the top, you gotta go back.
Log roll it.
On the way back down.
Log roll.
On the way back down, there was some older ladies that had put on that were part of the reunion. They drove up there, so I'm like, I'm not going down this hill. Like I'm done.
Well, you wouldn't. You wouldn't be able to. Could you do it?
I probably could have sat on my butt and just slid down all the way down, but I was like, I wasn't gonna do that.
Yeah.
You'd have been picking sand. San Mateo sand out of your ass for like a fucking month, man.
I had options at that point. I had options, and I was like, the best option is gonna be this car here. And
did you task air for this show?
I did not, but we always have it. We always have air. That is a mixed section of Marine Corps air out of Camp Pendleton right now. They fly over this air corridor.
Nice.
Every day, yeah. Sometimes I'll signal them with my cell phone and shine them. They'll tip in.
Oh, yeah?
Literally. Yeah, it's nuts. So, yeah. It's the sound of freedom flying overhead.
That's incredible, man. That hill story is, you didn't do it to persevere necessarily, but it became that thing. And then it also, again, like you were saying, Scott, with the social media thing, by just doing things, you know, with your physical condition, you get people to get up and go, well, fuck, man, if Josue can do it, let me get up off this couch.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy because after that, like, I had people wanting to interview me. You know, I had the local TV, Fox, and then I ended up going to Fox and Friends for that. And it was just like, I was like, man, out of this, you know, I was like, to me, I was just like, just doing it because I want to do it, or because I wasn't thinking about nothing else, you know. And then it's like I say, like, I never expect anything. So when things come, I'm like, man, that's crazy. Like, wow, you know.
Your humility in everything you do and the people you know is, Josue is not a name dropper, but he knows so many people, that the same people we know too, but you'll never hear him say it. And like your humility is probably one of the things I admire about you the most. Not being a Marine, we're all been Marines and going through everything, but as a person, your humility really sets you apart from a lot of people. I mean, in general, I think that's something that's really remarkable too, because you're also a really good listener. But I think that I love it when more people get to hear your story and talk about that. And, you know, talking about the injury is one thing. And I'm even fascinated too, because for those that don't know Josue, so through the ID blast in Afghanistan, it was 2009, right? Was
10.
it
late 2010, yeah.
In 2010 in Sangin, he got blown up. He lost his left eye, his left leg, almost to the hip. I mean, additional, TBI and, limited vision in his right eye, and, his body's peppered with shrapnel, and, he looks like, fucking battle hardened warrior. He's all tatted up. And I asked him, I said, how was the rehab part for that?
Yeah.
You explained it best to me about the whole,
Yeah. I mean, I think the rehab part for this was just my vision, because I took shrapnel to both my eyes, and now I got to wear prescription glasses. But without my glasses, I'm kind of like, if I memorize a route, then it's easy. But if I got to go somewhere new, I'm like, and I don't have my glasses, I have a hard time. But I think just my vision was the most important part of everything, because I can accept losing a leg. I just couldn't accept like being blind. I couldn't accept like not knowing that I wasn't going to be able to see anybody or live my life that way. So when I first got injured, both my eyes were hit and I was blind on both eyes.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here. And if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
I can accept losing a leg. I just couldn't accept like being blind. I couldn't accept like not knowing that I wasn't going to be able to see anybody or live my life that way. So when I first got injured, both my eyes were hit and I was blind on both eyes. So it was a couple weeks after that I started getting vision on my right eye. And little by little, it kept getting better. It was like a little hole that just kept opening, but it was blurry. And I had a hard time with the sun. Like the sun would I couldn't go outside. And after a couple months, I reached the point where I ended up getting prescription glasses, and it corrected my vision. So it almost gave me a 20/20. So I was happy with that.
Yeah. But the thing that was fascinating to me was the rehab of losing a limb and your left eye. Josue told me it was like his body, like a piece of paper, and I got my hands in there and like literally like tearing a piece of paper in half. Imagine having your body just like split down the middle, and that whole balance, the whole coordination piece to rehab what you've been conditioned for, for 20 years, to relearn that was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, just I think getting dizzy and not understanding that a straight line is like this, because I can only see through my right eye, so a straight line seems different to me. Like it's not center anymore, unless, like, it was funny because I would take pictures sideways, thinking that this was a straight face. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I saw an ID and I was like, wait, let me do it again. Let me take that picture again. And then I moved my face, but I couldn't see right. I was looking this way now, but this was a straight face,
Yeah.
So it took me a while to adjust, but like I say, I'm just thankful to be able to have vision on my right eye, be able to drive, be able to be independent. And
Tell the story where you
you know.
dropped your glasses behind the seat. That was a great one the other night.
No, I mean, just trying to, just trying to, like,
It's the little things, though.
I was getting cold in the car, and I was like, man, I need to put on my hoodie, but I have my glasses, and I'm driving. It's 4 a.m. I'm going to LA, and I'm driving, and I'm like, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, how should I can't take my glasses off and put on my hoodie, how am I gonna do it? So I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna give it a try. So I take my glasses off, I put them right here on the center console, and I'm trying to rush to put on my hoodie, and then I get stuck, and I'm like, fuck. And then I take it back out, and I'm like, put on my glasses real quick, and I can't find them. So I'm driving, and everything's blurry, and I'm like, I'm trying not to panic, but I'm like, whatever. And then I finally get them, and I put them back on, and I'm like, all right, fuck my sweater, I'm like, I'm not even gonna put this on. I mean, it's just little things like that comedy, but it's reality for me,
Yeah, that's the reality. But it's, people worry about distracted drivers. If you see Jose behind you trying to put his fucking hoodie on, like, you better pull over.
No, I think I'm a good driver, I think I've done well.
Not when you can't see.
Yeah.
I see Josue on the freeway sometimes, and I've honked at him, I've passed him, I've called him, because he's at one stage when he was running his business, he was very distinguishable on Interstate 15 or the I-5 when I see him in passing, because he has this amazing business of dinosaur suits where they go to parties and he tows a trailer. It's like a horse trailer, but instead of a Palomino in the back, it's a little T-Rex or a Velociraptor, and you see this dinosaur sticking out of the trailer. And I text him like, hey man, I just passed you. What's up, brother? But how did you get into that? Like, of all the crazy business to get into, how did this one fall in your lap?
I think my wife, she's always been the entrepreneur one, but she wanted a birthday party for my kid when he was only going to be 1. And she was looking at these dinosaurs, and she couldn't find anything local. She found a company in Houston, and the company in Houston was charging a crazy amount just to come over here. It wasn't realistic. And we saw their dinosaurs, what they had. And I was like, man, maybe I should buy a dinosaur, and like, we'll enjoy it for my kid's first birthday party. But then at the same time, we'll try to, maybe there's other families here that want this dinosaur too. Because to me, it was pretty unique. I was like, man, and it looked so realistic that I ended up buying one, and I did what I had to do with it. But then I'm like, man, let's make some money now. And somehow, some way, we got a big gig with like In-N-Out, and I saw how much we got paid, and I was like, man, like, we can make some money.
Is this a suit that you put on?
It's a 7-foot suit, and it's like 12 feet long, but it's a suit, and in there it has handles, it has a camera, and through the nose of the dinosaur, that's where the little camera is at, and you can see in front of you. And then it has a little fan. It makes noise. It opens the mouth, it roars, and it blinks the eyes. So it's pretty realistic. And then from there, that's when the idea just started coming, like, oh, let's go do birthday parties. Let's go do this. How do we put it together? And it was just me and my wife kind of just building it from the ground up.
And now you built it. You got a couple of them. You got guys in the suits for you. And last time we were talking about this business, you were researching newer, better, lighter weight dino suits that are pretty badass.
Yeah, so we've reached the point now where we're like, okay, we went from a dinosaur weighing 60 pounds to a dinosaur weighing like 40 pounds. So it makes a huge difference in the person that's in there. Like,
sure,
because it sits on your shoulders. And for a while, I was kind of contemplating quitting because I didn't know what they were feeling. Like, it wasn't like telling my brother, hey, get out that costume, let me get in there and let me feel your pain, because he would come out of the costume like hurting. And I'm like, man, like, I couldn't,
suck it up.
but I couldn't feel his pain. So I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. So that's when we found we're like, if I want to continue to do it, I got to do something about the weight of the dinosaur in order for somebody to be in there comfortable and not get hurt.
Yeah.
So we figured it out, and I went from 1 dinosaur to like 4 dinosaurs. And then we added some other stuff to the business, like a big egg prop where people could get in the egg and take pictures with our logo in the middle, a puppet. We added a dinosaur handler that goes out and plays with the kids and like have the kids dance the whole time, and kind of keep them happy, because I felt like what we were charging, I wanted to make sure we were giving them the best, like.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Veteran entrepreneurs, like your mind, the mind of a Marine or a sailor or a soldier is like, if you want to do it, you find a way to do it, and they can be successful at it. And like that's what I love about that business. And let's talk about, because we're all neighbors, and you're going to be a closer neighbor of mine now, because Josue was involved in with a nonprofit that was signed on to build his home, and we're working out, and he's telling me kind of the trials and tribulations. We won't mention any names, but they're saying, oh yeah, we'll do this. We're going to move you here. We're going to want to move you there. We can't buy this land, and he's telling me this whole horror story and how painful it is. And he was adamant about the fact. He says, no. My kids, he's got 3 beautiful boys now. They look like little mini GQ Josues because they all have these coiffed hairs. They're all gelled up, always dressed to the nines. They're adorable. But they wanted to move me. He says, no, Temecula is my home. This is one of the best school districts in the state, if not the country. And this is where I want to live. And so he broke contact with that. And I remember we were at the gym working out, and he says, hey, Scott, guess who called me yesterday? Gary Sinise, and which is, again, such a small world.
Yeah.
Tell everybody about how that whole thing unfolded, and where you're at in the process, and like how that's going to unfold over the next year or so.
Yeah. So we got accepted by the Gary Sinise Foundation, and what they do is they build adapted homes for severely disabled veterans, and it's, 1-story home, to make life easier for the veteran in a wheelchair or prosthetics. So we got accepted through them, and it took about a year, but finally the whole team came out and met my family, talked about what we like to do, and just kind of got a feel for us. And after that, we went out to go look at land, and it was kind of like a kid at a candy store. They're like, oh, do you like this, and that? And we ended up picking 5 lots, and then from there we just cut it down to 1. And finally, last week we picked 1 lot, and like 2-3 days ago they made an offer on the lot. So it's a 2-acre lot here in Temecula, and hopefully build our forever home.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, what's nuts about this whole story too is, even before he told me this good news that they put the bid in on the lot, I reached out to Josue and through other connections, Scott Siegel. He's putting on this great event at Temple Bat Yam in Newport Beach, where Gary's going to be speaking on August 25th at 6:30 p.m. You can go to templebatyam.com. You can find the event. We'll put the link to it it's on my page at Echo and Ramadi. You can see the event. Josue's going to be there. He's going to meet Gary again in a very intimate VIP setting. Gary's going to be signing some books and speaking. And Scott Siegel, who I was introduced through another friend, good friend of mine, John Gates, is the founder of California Closet. So I don't know if Gary puts in custom closets, but we can put Scott on the hook right now and just say, yeah, we'll need some closets for Josue's home. And you're going to meet Scott too. Man. He's a wonderful guy. And we were just in Irvine Improv with Jay Moore. I took Scott up there and introduced him to Jay. And, this network of people, again, willing to always help our veteran community and guys that care, it's a fucking mind blower to me, man.
Yeah.
Like the circles just continue to overlap, man. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the circle helps everybody, but at the same time, like me, if I didn't have none of this, I would feel like I couldn't go back to LA and help my guys. The people who I really want to help, that are not military, that have no idea that there's a different world. So I feel like everything in the military, me getting injured, me meeting the people that I've met, the influences that I've had through my injury wouldn't have made me or motivated me to go back to my area and be like, okay, now this is what I know. Let me show you guys a little bit of what's out there,
How hard is it for you to pull yourself out of the house every day and stay connected? Because we've talked about this.
It's not hard, but to me, like I say, I like surrounding myself with people who motivate me, who bring something to the table, who are hungry for their life too, who want to do something. Like, I reached the point in my life where I just don't want to go out and have a drink and get drunk, and like everybody's like trying to pick a fight or do this. Like, I have 3 kids, I have my wife, and my time to me is valuable, and that's the way I see it. I'm like, if I'm gonna go hang out with somebody, it's because I'm going to bring something to their table, or they have something that I want, and I'm like, I want to be like them or something, something that inspires me. So, I mean, it's not hard, but finding the right people is hard.
I was so happy though you last Friday you went out with Save the Brave on an offshore fishing trip.
Yeah.
I didn't really get the after action report on that. Like how was that being with the guys with Save the Brave out on the Pescador and
you know what
I landed some.
I will tell you it's different because I haven't gone on a lot of trips, but when I did go on trips when I first got injured, it was a lot of amputees. So a lot of the amputees get a different type of love. They get a different type of love that I didn't want anymore. I didn't want to be coming out of the airport and everybody's clapping because you're missing a limb or this and that. So being out with these guys here at Save the Brave, I feel like none of them had physical injuries that I can see. So it's a little bit different. So getting to experience something like that is something that I like, and I'm like, man, these guys, they have a different veteran life that I do. Like obviously, and yeah, they have their disabilities, but it's different. So just interacting with somebody like that and kind of like surrounding myself with people like that is just, and then they look at me, they're like, they get inspired and motivated, and I'm just like, wow, like that's crazy.
Well, it's interesting too, because when you can see the physical injury, or you see another veteran, and you could look at a guy like Pete and if he's 100% disabled, and you don't see, and someone say, oh, why are you 100% disabled? Like, well, I don't know, what makes me 100% disabled?
Yeah.
Would you feel more comfortable if I was missing a leg or an eye? Does that make me a more disabled vet?
Yeah.
And I think people don't really understand that lens. And I think that it was really cool when you said that, is like you experience a different part of the veteran community, because people don't just see, oh man, he's missing a leg. Like I just see the Marine, but when you're hanging out with all the guys on our team and all the vets we bring in from the LA Vet Center to experience that, I think what's been most important for me that keeps me doing what I'm doing is these guys aren't together complaining about their injuries, complaining about the adversity. They're not telling war stories. They're just connecting, man. And that is really what is so powerful to me. And then when we bring guests out and people that are supporters and donors, and they see that brotherhood. John Gates called me today, and Josue was over the party. John Gates came to the party on Sunday.
Nice.
And he sent me this lengthy, very emotional email. The fact that he physically witnessed this brotherhood that we have as Marines, and the fact that it was predominantly Marines that showed up. John's a Navy vet, and we thank him for his service as well. But he experienced that firsthand, and it really became more real for him, even as a veteran. So I think it's really interesting. We don't often dissect that on the show, or even when we're just kind of fucking off and talking about that.
Yeah, why not?
You're the smart one.
One of the things I've been trying to figure out is patriotism seems to be kind of this ambiguous term. And I was told the other day that patriotism is a negative thing. And then I was told same day that patriotism is a wonderful thing. So somewhere in the middle has got to be reality. How do you see patriotism?
I mean, I feel like, I feel like I'm in the middle.
All right.
I feel like I'm in the middle because of where I come from. Like where I come from, a lot of immigrants. You know what I mean? Where I come from, like to see what I see in TV and then to see where I come from doesn't click to me, because I've been there and I know like my mom, where she comes from. I've seen it. So it's always been one of those topics where like I'm just kind of like, I really don't talk about, because there's two sides of, when you're in the military, there's two sides. Obviously, there's like some guys who are really patriotic and this and that. And to me, I don't want to start no fights. You believe in what you believe, and that's cool. It is what it is. But at the same time, I got to stand up for myself.
Yeah.
So if something bothers me, I'll let them know, I'll be like, hey, and I won't fight with somebody, or I won't tell them, hey, nah, you're wrong, I'll let them know, I'll let them know in a clear way, where like, just to see if he wants to understand or if he doesn't want to. And that's it. But right off the bat, you'll understand people who want to pay attention and who would, listen.
Yeah.
And people who don't, who already have their mind set, But I would say that it definitely opened my world when I joined the military to like what being a patriot is, and understanding the love for your country, and understanding the job that's out there that not a lot of people do.
Have you ever experienced anything negative since you came back from Afghanistan, from the public? We don't often hear about that. I mean, we got heavy doses of that from Vietnam vets. Have you ever experienced that?
Nah, you know what? And even if you experience a little bit of it, I feel like it's nothing compared to a Vietnam veteran. So to me, it's like compared to the love that we get, even just a little bit doesn't bother me, because there's just so much that people didn't have back in the day. So I feel like, imagine just these nonprofits that came out of nowhere, in the early 2000s, that have just made a difference in people's lives. Like, we're so lucky just to have that. And just to be part of this era, I feel like I'm lucky. When
you look at the moment right before your injury, if you were able to replace that decision, same outcomes otherwise, would you tell yourself to like, stop, it ain't worth it, and get your leg back, get your eye back?
Nah, you know what? If I could change it, I would want to give myself longer time in Afghan and then step on an IED the last day. Step on the IED the last day, and because I wouldn't want to change what happened to me.
Okay.
Because if I change what happens to me, then I won't be the same person that I am today.
Yeah.
So I would just give myself a little bit more time and spend more time with some people who didn't make it. And then, so I would say like blow me up like before we go to Leatherneck, that's it. Give me some more time.
Yeah.
And that's it. But
more time in a combat zone, though. Let's understand that. Yeah. And also
time.
that you like who you are now.
Yeah. Give me more time in the combat zone and let me experience some more things that I'm missing.
Do you feel like you didn't live up in some way to the Marine standard?
I mean, I feel like definitely it got cut short because as a young Marine, I felt like there was so much leadership that was still going to come out of me. And I never got to understand that, I never got to like be the Marine that I wanted to be, because my life got short. My injury, cut my career short. So I just feel that I could have been somebody real. I could have been an asset in the Marine Corps if none of this would have happened.
Isn't the Marine that you want to be the guy that climbed that mountain and made national news?
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I say. Like, imagine the things that I'm doing now, because obviously everything comes with your age too.
Yeah.
You maturing. But imagine the person that I am today. I feel like there's a lot of qualities that I always had in me, but there's different challenges that we're going to bring them out. And who knows that, who knows, maybe in my second combat deployment, I could have got something out of that and made me a different person.
Yeah.
Were you thinking you wanted to make the Marine Corps career?
I wanted to make the Marine Corps career.
Major Barron.
Because I had nothing else in the world that I thought I wanted to do. There was nothing else. I wasn't good at school. I wasn't good at other things that I was just like, man, the Marine Corps, I could make this my life. And I was okay with it. Like, I didn't want no kids. I didn't want, I don't think I wanted to get married. So I was like, this could be it here, I don't mind.
It sounds to me like you're a fantastic Marine. Like, you did have a great career. You're medically retired, right?
Yeah.
So you had a career. You did great. And then you're a man of faith, I'm assuming?
Yeah. I mean,
so it sounds like God's like, hey, that's great. I don't need the desperado guy, the guy who doesn't feel cold and rain, all that kind of. I want you to feel love and have kids.
Oh yeah, I mean, but I'm okay with both avenues. Wherever I'm okay with where I'm at now. And a lot of the times, a lot of people say, what if this? Like, I don't think about what ifs. I don't think about what could have happened. I don't think about. There's nothing that hunts me. There's nothing that bothers me. The only thing I'm thankful for in life is that I never killed nobody in LA. That's one of the things that I'm thankful. It's like, a lot of people are happy about this, and that. And I'm like, to me, I'm thankful I never killed nobody. And that's probably one of the things that would bother me for the rest of my life. If I go back to my mom's house, or I go back to my neighborhood in LA and I know that I killed somebody in the street, like, to me, it's like, I could live with it, but it'll bother me.
I can only imagine how proud your mom is of you right now.
Yeah. I mean, I became the outlet to my family. Like my two sisters and my older brother, it was real tough for them to get their citizenship and to get all this. And they've been here since they were 4 years old. And now my brother's 35 years old. So as soon as I got injured, I helped my brothers get their citizenship. So I was that outlet for them to like, now you got somebody in the military that got injured, Purple Heart, and this and that. That makes a little better income now. You qualify to help them out. And I feel like my whole life that bothered me. So if I was able to close that and give them their freedom that they should have had a long time ago, it closed like a gap in my life that it kind of closed like a scar in my life that I had,
Yeah.
What's the next mission for you?
I think acting for Marines is huge, Like for me, I want to be a stunt guy. Like, cause I've done 2 stunts already. I did a movie with Jennifer Garner. It's called Peppermint. And I was one of the stunt guys for a fighting scene. So that to me, I was more attracted with that because being like the Navy SEAL that got me that job, he's a stunt coordinator and he's been doing it for like 25 years. And he just told me, he's like, man, being a stunt guy, you get paid well, you do your job and you're out. Like you don't got to sit there and wait and do this and that. You do your stunt and you're done. So I was like, all right.
Can you ride a horse?
I could ride a horse.
All right. That's a good one. If you can ride a horse, you can work.
I could ride a horse, but there's a lot of for somebody like me who's Hispanic, there's a lot of gang-related movies. There's a lot of military movies. So I feel like I fit a lot of the categories that are out there. And to me, if I could do something like that, it gives me freedom, and I can still spend time with my family, my kids, and just get called to do whatever I got to do. And then obviously my dinosaur business, and whatever comes my way. Like if I see an opportunity and there's money to be made, then I'm going to take it.
Is there a show or a type of film that you want to be on that you think, man, if I can only get in with that show?
Yeah. I mean, I want to be in a war movie. I want to be in a war movie and I want to be, I don't mind getting blown up again and going through the whole scenario again, but I want to be dramatic about it.
You can be guy who gets his leg blown off in every movie.
But
like that could be your type.
No, but
West student, he's always the Indian chief.
No, but I want to be that guy who in your mind when you get blown up, you picture there was so much shit in my mind that I still could have done, or not that I could have done because obviously my body didn't let me, but I wish I could have done. Like I wish I would have been that guy without a leg, crawling to get my rifle, killing a couple more guys, and then putting my own tourniquets, and then like just going above and beyond. So if I could get a movie like that,
that's what you want.
That's what I want. Just kind of like, give me the hero that in my mind I wanted to be. Well,
let me tell you, man, you're the hero that you are.
Yeah,
and it's pretty fucking good.
I like it. Sitting here with all you guys, Chris Van Etten and Josue Barron and everybody that comes on the show that says they're not a hero. And I'll give Rudy Reyes a shout out because he wrote this great book, Hero Living, and he embraces his hero. And he says, even as a young boy, I found my first hero moment where I helped my mom get out of that abusive household and how I pulled myself out. And I think we're such humble creatures as Marines. Privately, in public, no one accuses us of being that way because we're a bunch of braggarts. But I think individually, I think that it is a tough thing to say that, yeah, I'm comfortable in saying I've done some heroic stuff. And I love absolutely your philosophy of your vision and philosophy of heroism is not what you've been through, not what you've done, but what you're capable of doing and what you're going to leave behind. And you've impacted so many people in your life now. I think that, when we do another episode with you on and see how you're jumping off of buildings or getting blown up in war movies or whatever it is that you're going to do, I think in 5 or 10 years, we're doing episode 5,000 of the Break It Down show. I mean, I can only imagine the lineup and hearing the success stories. And I mean,
seriously,
how old will we be, Pete? These guys will be our age then. So
be geezed out.
But I hope that's to come, man. But if you want to find you on social media, where do you want people to find you?
I just have Instagram. I don't like Facebook. I don't like nothing else. So on Instagram, you can find me at Josue Barron with a double R. Josue Barron 35.
And if I want to rent a T-Rex for my kid's birthday down in the San Diego area.
So you could go to American Dinosaur events. Either on Instagram, you type in American Dinosaur events, or we have a website. You put AmericanDinosaurEvents.com.
We got to hook you up with the guys in that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh my God. Yeah, the San Diego National Museum. So yeah, it was great interview, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you guys.